The gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Burton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Neighbors, I served with Ronald Reagan during his administration, and when he came into office, we had 12% unemployment and 14% inflation. And he decided, against some of his economists' recommendations, to cut taxes instead of just throwing money at everything. And as a result, we created millions of jobs and one of the longest economic expansions in U.S. history. And the economy at that time was as bad or worse than it is right now. Now you said, and Mr. Issa quoted you, you said, since almost all states have to balance their fiscal budgets, even in the face of recession, 40 have cut benefits and services, and 28 have raised taxes, and more are considering both measures. These actions deepen the impact of the downturn. It sounds a little bit like you may have agreed with what President Reagan did, because instead of raising taxes, which would have precipitated a bigger downturn when we had 12% unemployment and 14% inflation, he chose to cut taxes. And he believed that if you did that, you would give more disposable income to individual citizens, their families, and to businesses so that they could make more investment in their businesses, in plant and equipment, and it would create more jobs. People would have more money to buy more products, therefore you'd create more jobs because they had to be produced. So what I can't understand is why we're doing what we're doing. The President has proposed raising taxes on health care. It's going to hit everybody. I mean, I think everybody in the place knows that. He's talking about a carbon tax for cap and trade that's going to cost the average family about $3,100, $3,200, maybe $4,000 a year. We've already authorized and appropriated $787 billion for the stimulus package, $350 billion for the omnibus, $52 billion so far for $54 billion so far for the auto bailout, and of course the stimulus is $787 billion, and now you're talking about another stimulus. How can you square blowing all this money when it's not creating jobs? Vice President Biden said the stimulus created or saved 150,000 jobs, and President Obama asserted on June 8th that the stimulus would create 600,000 jobs over 100 days, and they said it wouldn't go above 8% when we started throwing all this money at it, and now it's 9.5%. It seems like the approach that Reagan took was a more realistic approach because it let people make the decisions and companies make the decisions on how to get themselves out of that mess instead of having the government trying to do everything. And I just want to quote a couple things real quick, and then I'll let you answer. Here's where some of this money's going. Did you know the Florida Department of Transportation is planning to spend $3.4 million recovery funding on the road crossing for turtles and other animals on US 127? That in Minneapolis they're going to spend $2 million on a theater for dance and music events? That in Kansas, the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve's new visitor center and pedestrian and bike project over a highway is going to be, they're going to spend, how much on that? A couple million. $1 million in Michigan for decorative sidewalks and crosswalk planters, landscaping, and so on and so on. It just seems to me that a more realistic approach to solving the problems, and I hope you'll carry this back to the administration, would be instead of just throwing money at it and talk about another stimulus package, we should be cutting taxes, stimulating economic growth by letting people have more of their own money to spend and letting businesses have their money to invest in things they think need to be invested in instead of this sort of stuff so that they can expand their business and sell their products. You can respond.
I will take your comments back to the administration. I do feel the need to clarify a few points. Point one, no one in the administration is talking about a second stimulus at this point. What we are focused on right now is implementing the Recovery Act that Congress has already passed and doing the best that we can with the dollars that you've entrusted us with. So that's what our focus is right now. Second, with regard to the way the package is actually structured, I think it's important to note that over 1/3 of the package is actually focused on dedicated, targeted tax relief, which we believe is a part of a very balanced package to
pardon me for interrupting, but the White House, what's her name? Laura Tyson yesterday did mention a second stimulus. I just thought I'd clarify that for you.
Well, Laura Tyson is not an administration official.
She's an economic advisor.
She's an outside economic advisor. She does not work for the administration. But to clarify, the package that was signed into law actually does include what we believe is effective tax relief for the middle class, and we think it will have benefits. But in addition, because of the output deficiencies that the economy is currently facing, spending has to be part of the equation. And what the president has said is that over the long term, this spending, we need to bring the entire federal budget back under control. So I recognize the point that you are saying, that there has been a lot of spending that has been done, and it's something that the president is very sensitive to and very focused on. It's one of the reasons why he's pushing so hard to make sure that comprehensive health care reform is completed. Over the long term, the key to long-term deficit reduction is going to be bringing our health care costs under control.
Right.
In addition, we made it very clear that the Recovery Act spending is something that we are looking at as a short-term stimulative impact into the economy. It's not something that we believe is sustainable over the long term or even advisable over the long term.
The gentleman's time from Indiana has expired.